This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses.
So, it's been a few years now since, well, both of these guitars came out, and I bought one of these guitars used, the full Silver Sky. At the time that these came out, the Silver Sky SE, I bought 3 of them to try various aspects of them. I don't own any of them any longer, and at the time I was kind of thinking, you know, that's an interesting competitor to something like the Sire Larry Colton, something like the Fender Mexican Player stuff, and conversely the Silver Sky is a good competitor to some other things. I remember seeing some videos at the time that kind of made it seem like these were very, very, very close guitars, so I wanted to kind of do a follow-up on that. You know, are these as close as they said? Show you some of the differences and try and give you some impression of what it feels like to play both of these guitars such that I can. the real thing that you'll feel different between these two guitars comes down to the neck. It's not so much about the dimensions, although the dimensions are different, which I'll go into in a bit, but this satin feel of the SE is kind of going to be the main thing that feels different to the core Silver Sky. I don't always think that a satin neck is even a negative thing. I think there's there's something about a satin feeling neck, but there's also, when you play like a well glossed neck, it does feel slightly different. Anyway, so what do they sound like in isolation? Let's just go through and try this. What I like best about the Silver Sky SE is that at this price, for, you know, a sub £1,000 guitar, we've got actually a really quite a nice chunky neck, which is one of those areas which it's not that easy to find a substantial neck at this price range. So that's one thing that they've got really good going for it. The pickups, I think, are also fine. I do think these have more glass to them, a bit more brightness. What about our bridge pickup? There definitely is less of a flat feel when I'm playing this guitar. This is one of those things that I've sometimes noticed with slightly cheaper guitars. Is that when you're playing it, you know, there's just something a little bit more lively about this. And it's not that the Silver Sky is not great value or whatever, it's just that it's lacking a little bit in that. I think if you look at these things up close, you'll see there is like a pretty clear, like there's a starting point, but actually there's also quite a lot of differences. So here,
non-locking tuners, locking. If you look at the joint of the headstock, you'll see a very different joint. So this one's quite an unusual sort of thing, whereas this is much more what I'm used to seeing, where it just goes like this, versus that's got like a hammerhead shark type shape to it. You'll see that, of course, the neck finishes are very different. The Silver Sky non-SE has got this kind of nitro gloss. As we go down, the bodies are pretty similar, obviously. These are different. Another big difference is the nut. Now that's a pretty substantial difference there. So I think we've got bone on one side and then obviously a bit more of a plasticky nut. And also on the front of the Silver Sky you've got that truss cover, very different, more conventional truss cover on the back. Then when it comes down to the actual necks, the Silver Sky SE has slightly flatter, less tall frets, whereas the PRS Silver Sky Core has quite tall frets and a bit thinner. And then here's another big difference: 6-point trem versus 2-point trem, and that one I think is maybe up there with the nut in terms of being quite a big difference. If you look on the back of the Silver Sky, it looks like the trem is bolted all the way through. So it's like a specific design choice that they had made there. The radius of the fretboard is also different. So this is 7.25, and the SE is like just over 8, I think. It's also got a narrower fretboard on the SE, and this one's slightly wider. And I don't know if you'll be able to really see this, but these fretboard edges are quite a lot more rolled. Also, another thing I noticed, don't think the body contours are exactly the same either. Or maybe that's to do with how I'm holding them. But if you look down here, the SE on the left, the frets have like invisible nibs. So that's like a construction difference. As well as, if we can get a view of this, like the 12-point fret at the 12th fret are closer together on the real Silver Sky. So some key differences there, like not quite the same as some other brands. I think what you do get with both guitars is like this good for the money type thing, where, you know, in the UK you can get a Silver Sky Core for £2,000. I think it easily stacks up very well with a lot of Fender stuff, like even to the custom shop level. And then, you know, for £600 or thereabouts, the Silver Sky SE, you know, does perform really well versus something like the Fender Player 2, which has a much skinnier neck. So there are similar things going on in terms of what you can get for the money as well. I think this colour grey looks fantastic too. This is the mock sand. But overall, when you hold them in your hands, I think you would really very easily tell the difference. Like, they do feel quite different in the hands, which is mostly, I guess, down to this satin thing, but also narrower nut width, slightly wider nut width. Yeah, differences are not just aesthetic.
Of course, underneath all of these slightly aesthetic and mechanic differences, there are also, this has a poplar body versus the alder here, so there is that difference going on, which makes well, they're both generally pretty lightweight Strats, especially compared to like a Fender in general. This one I think is a little bit on the heavier side compared to any other Silver Sky SE that I've tried. But that kind of, I think, let me know in the comments if you've tried both of these guitars side by side. I don't think that anyone would particularly be, I don't think fooled is the word, but you can definitely tell like there's a substantial difference. In my opinion, I don't know whether that comes across in the video, but yes, it's almost like they're both great guitars in their price range. but this does not really get that close to the quality feel, in my opinion, of the full American model, which obviously you'd hope if you'd bought one of these that you'd you know, get more for your money with it in a way, but that's just kind of my findings. I've played a couple of Silver Sky models. I played 4 Silver Sky SEs, and I'd say that that's kind of been my experience with all of them, where this does really stack up very nicely with like custom shop level instruments, whereas this does feel, you know, like it's in there with like the Player 2, the Vintera, the Sire Larry Colton, but it does have particularly nice specs for me. That neck shape is, I think, my favourite neck shape under £1,000 probably. So yeah, hopefully that helps some of you guys if you're on the fence with either of these types of guitars. If you're thinking, is the full Silver Sky US worth it? I think at the moment in Peach Guitars they've got a few models for 2,000. I would say give them a try, because you might find this to be one of the better S-type guitars out there, especially at that price. Catch you in another video soon. Cheers.